Before we get started, down in the description is a link to a GoFundMe for Darnella Frazier. Darnella Frazier is a 17-year-old girl who filmed the murder of George Floyd, and this fund is to help her find peace, restoration, and healing, whatever that looks like for her. That could be therapy, it could be medication, it could even be private security. Please consider giving if you can and sharing if you can't, but now more than ever, she needs support and protection. Thank you. Hi, so this is my third attempt trying to film my May recap. I've completely edited one version, nearly posted it, and thank goodness did not. Filmed a second version, but didn't really like how it was presented, so here we are for the third time. I am glad I took the time off. I realized that while my heart may have been in the right place, the execution of what I wanted to do for my original May recap was not well thought through. So we're gonna go with this version. I watched 5 new films, technically 6, but we'll get into that. And of the bunch, it's difficult to pick a favorite just because they cover such a wide scope. They all satisfied a different part of me, so I think what I have to go with is Sucker Punch, specifically on rewatchability. But that's not to say the others weren't meaningful. Shawshank Redemption has still stuck with me, but I am still researching like prison pen pal programs and just ways to help people who are incarcerated, both from the like 8 can't wait and the like 8 to abolition and the like defunding police, defunding prisons, abolishing prisons. There's a lot of philosophy revolving around those topics, and so I've been reading up on those. I'm going to be taking advantage of the fact that 13th is available on I think it's on YouTube right now for free. So I'm definitely going to be watching that to learn more. But yeah, Shawshank was good for that reason, and that's not necessarily a favorite just because I think it's a difficult film to watch. But it's certainly one that had a deep impact on me, and I want to do something. It's been a while since I've watched it, so it doesn't feel like I am doing anything, but I am looking into doing things. In regards to some of the things about that, I have some links in the description pertinent to what I'm interested in for Shawshank, so if you're interested in it, in those topics as well, feel free to peruse them and learn more with me. But I also watched some other things. I rewatched the 1953 Walt Disney Peter Pan. I went back to it specifically for Hans Conried's performance. He plays Captain Hook in the film. He has such a campy theatrical nature for the character, and I really like that. And I have a soft spot for that character. His voice, there are certain voices in animated history that just like do it for me, not necessarily in like a sexual way, but it gets me really excited. His voice is that way, and Phil Harris's voice is that way. They're just a couple of my favorite classic Disney voices. But for all I can say about like Hans Conried, yikes, are some of those sections really racist. Like, I knew they were. I knew they were racist when I sat down to watch it, but it's one of those where it's like, it's pretty racist. But then seeing it and experiencing that racism is so different from like cognitively knowing it's racist, you know? So it's not my favorite Pan iteration. I think my favorites are probably Hook, obviously, and the 2003 version with Jason Isaacs and Jeremy Sumpter, who I definitely had a crush on when I was a kid, probably before I even knew what a crush was. But I also finished Better Call Saul season 5. Wow, Lalo's final scenes in that last episode were incredible. I really enjoyed that performance. Again, not too much to say that hasn't been said already. I am very curious where Lalo ends up in all of this, because I assume he's still alive by the end of it, because Saul mentions him in his introduction episode. So I assume he survives. The one loose end that I'm very curious about is Kim. I have no idea what they're going to do with her, but I'm very interested to see what happens. I also watched Taylor Tomlinson's stand-up special, Quarter Life Crisis. I'm kind of proud of the fact that she got a stand-up special. I've really enjoyed her stand-up segments on Conan. The remote that she filmed with Conan is a lot of fun, and so I'm really happy that she kind of like made it, so to speak, and got a Netflix special out of it. She's one of the few stand-up comedians that I do genuinely see myself in them. Because, you know, she's on the younger side, 25 years old, obviously. She talks about being raised in a religious household, which I definitely identify with as well. But I really enjoy her sense of humor, her wit, her delivery is really strong, and I'm so excited for what she's going to get to do after this. So I highly recommend her stand-up special.
You have to make mistakes, learn from them, and then you give amazing advice. My dad read his Bible every night. He got a scholarship to college. He married my mom, and then he had us. His advice was terrible. He'd be like, "Don't do that." And we're like, "Why?" And he's like, "I don't know, kid. I read it in a book. I've never really lived." Joel Osteen pose.
I also watched Frankenstein's Monsters Monster Frankenstein, which is like the weirdest thing because it feels like it should be a Documentary Now episode because that's kind of what it is. It's not connected to Documentary Now, it's not connected to IFC at all. It's just like a weird standalone thing that Netflix did with David Harbour, wherein David Harbour is like researching his father, who was also named David Harbour, and wrote this play about Victor Frankenstein. The sense of humor is really good. It's very self-aware, very quick, very bizarre, but with a very worthwhile Orson Welles joke. Like, I am impressed that they snuck that in there. I'm also still watching Full Metal Alchemist, and it is still an amazing show. We're about 30 episodes in as of filming this, and I am very intrigued. The suspense and intrigue is kind of settling in, and the characters continue to get more complicated. Mustang especially. I'm very, very curious where his character goes because we had like this kind of evolving of his character that paralleled the Hughes arc, but then we have like this Ishbalan refugees standoff. His character trajectory is real interesting. I also really like Sig. They introduced Sig and Greed. Greed is fantastic. That episode was the theory of avarice was one of my favorite episodes, like easily top 5 within the whole context of the show. But I'm very much looking forward to more. And then I also read a book. I read Sky Without Stars by Jessica Brody and Joanne Rendell. I picked it up because the cover was gorgeous. I love the artwork there. But it's basically a sci-fi fantasy Les Miserables. But it's like if Les Mis were told exclusively through Cosette, Eponine, and Marius's perspectives, and it focuses more on the consequences of Valjean and Javert, even though the Valjean and Javert analogs do make appearances. Like, all the characters have analogs in the context of the book. The characters, for the most part, were pretty cool. I didn't really like Chatine, the Eponine analog. She could be annoying sometimes, but I definitely liked Alouette. I liked her arc, especially. I wanted more from her, and Marcellus was there, which is true to form. I will say that I absolutely adore what they did with the Javert analog, whatever they called him. They made him like a T-1000 Lumiere, Inspecteur Lumiere, and he was really cool. I loved his character to death. Making Javert a cyborg, I think helps justify Javert's worldview just a little bit more. Like, it's fine to have really rigid morals, but having it be programmed into him, but have the human obsession play against the cyborg robot side, is a really clever decision, and I liked that. I will say the stylized French spelling of things, like the ministère, the Grand Palais, the Patriarche, the Matron. Because I'm an American English speaker, I read internally in English, but anytime I would get to like a French word, it would just scream in a French accent that it was not in English, and it was a cool stylistic choice. I'm not going to knock it as being a bad choice because I can't say objectively whether it was good or bad. It was just an annoying choice for me personally. It does have a sequel. I might check out the sequel. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, as far as anything else that happened this month, no, I didn't do anything else this month. But for June, I'm definitely taking advantage of the fact that Just Mercy and Selma are both free on like all streaming platforms. I definitely wanted to watch Just Mercy when it came out, but I'm also working on a review for that 6th movie that was a genuine waste of time. I watched it because I wanted something mindless, and it delivered on that, but at what cost? There was one redeeming thing about that, but it as a whole was just a terrible, awful movie. Its critical and audience rating should have clued me into that. But I'm gonna try to do like a full different kind of review for that. But then my regular style review will be back for Fences that I just watched. I watched it on Sunday evening. and it was really good. I'm super excited to film that one. But yeah, that's what I watched in May, and that's kind of a preview for what's going to happen in June. Please check out the links in the description. Like I said, donate if you can, share if you can't, and hopefully we can make some positive change, at least for them. This has been My Year in Movies. Thank you for watching.